Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of I Cast Fireball, an actual play 5e D&D adventure where we go through the campaign Tyranny of Dragons. I am Thomas, your DM for this adventure, and around the table we have...
Malamara,
Lance Thalen,
and Fleeple.
Still in downtime, we have found our adventurers in Candlekeep, where some are going through a religious experience. Others are continuing their questions about what this interesting relic holds, while our final member is trying to obtain this relic, and certainly make a copy of it at the very least. So we jump back into our adventurers now, continuing their final tasks during their month of downtime. We'll jump back to Fleeple, since I believe Ned, or you only had Fleeple wanting to see how fast his fly speed could get in the few remaining weeks. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so you're currently at 20 feet. Last time we had you look up based off of a medicine check through texts. Your eyes start to get a little bit bleary, so you might need to increase your speed through another skill, through another method. Do you propose maybe some other creative way of like how Fleeple could try to enhance his skills or his speed?
Could I pray about it?
Prayer, always an option.
Eat, pray, lift.
Yeah, eat, pray, lift. Pray to Bahamut for those sick gains.
Sick gains.
Okay. I will say yes, and I have a DC in my mind that I've got established for this particular skill. And so whatever skill you propose, I will set a DC, because that's normally what a Dungeon Master does. They set a DC in their mind. Anyway, so yes, go ahead and roll a religion check here.
All right, you got this sport. Well, that's going to be an 8.
Okay. You spend a good 4 or 5 days in... I was going to say in fervent prayer, but you wouldn't be praying just for 4 or 5 days. You pray a little, then you try and fly. You pray, you're like,
You're just in the
your
sauna.
wings have atrophied. After 4 or 5 days of praying and then trying to test your wings, you have not gotten any faster, unfortunately, with your flying.
Indeed.
Prayers might not have been fervent enough? I don't know.
Maybe. Yeah, I mean, I think athletics would probably be the most sensible one, but that's still a -1, even though I got that bump. Maybe acrobatics?
That's a good point. In the air, trying to do it, not necessarily going for a long time, but trying to flex the muscles in a very specific way, almost like an obstacle course type of a thing, like trying to go through an obstacle course and doing it faster and faster and faster. So I will allow an acrobatics, yes. And per the rules of D&D, I have a DC set in my mind.
Okay, we'll get some Faerunian Ninja Warrior. You got this sport. And that is a 19.
Hey, that beats my DC of an 18. And sure enough, he goes, you have to hold it tight in. Use those box core skills. And you try to make it as fluid as possible. And you do find yourself becoming more and more fluid with your wings. Not necessarily just strength, but they are starting to form more to your body. They are becoming an extension of your body now. And they are becoming a part of you instead of just this foreign appendage that you were gifted. You have increased your fly speed by 5 feet, but it does take you a whole week of training.
All right.
I will allow you one more check to try to increase your speed, however you decide.
All right. I think now that I've been spending so much time in a training environment, a place that's built for people to be you're going to the gym, I think it's time to maybe get some in-world training. So maybe spend some time in the woods close to Candlekeep, flying around trees and other such things. Could I use survival to do that?
Absolutely. You talk to Leosin and he goes, if you do leave, you won't be able to enter back in the Candlekeep if you go into the woods. Unless you well, here, I have one more book. And he takes out this last book and he gives it to you and he goes, if you feel you must leave, this book will allow you to come back in. but it's my last one.
Here, let me try something else first, real quick. I know I have a friend who's been trying to get into some self-publishing. I might be able to find something that he wrote, and I would like to see if I can find the story that Quilliam wrote about Lance.
Ah, very nice. Okay. So that's on Lance's person here. So do you go and ask him? Do you try to rob him? Do you tackle him when he's in the library? How do you go about this, Fleeple?
Well, these guys have both been very sneaky this entire time, and I've been doing nothing but helping other people. Maybe it's time to be a little self-serving. So I think I likewise am going to wait until Lance is asleep.
Oh my gosh, stop robbing me in my sleep, people!
Mal hasn't robbed you yet.
She took something!
No, you still have it.
Boom. So who's robbed who? Fleeple, this is really easy. Actually, this is actually really easy because you are resting on his chest every single night. And so you just pretend to be asleep, and after 2 hours you go, all right, now's the time. And go and roll a stealth check.
My
All
gosh,
right, we got
heaven
this
help
sport.
me.
That is a modded 20.
This has been a great few episodes for me. I love it. Just watching me get robbed.
Well, Lance got these boons from this book. He can cast Scorching Ray. His stuff has been rifled through a couple times now.
Next feat I'm getting is the one where I can't be surprised.
Oh, that's a good feat. Yeah, you are able to pull out the 2 to 3 sips of paper where the story is on it. And you just gently grab it, staring, keeping eye contact with Lance's closed eyes the whole time. Fold it, fold it, fold it, put it in your sheep pouch.
You giving my story away?
Curl back up.
I need a book to give to the guards to get back into the
Leosin gave you a book!
It's his last one.
He's got tons! He's a librarian!
And Fleeple, you fall asleep. The next day, you go to Leosin, and he goes, all right, this is my last book, but you can have it if you absolutely need to. And
Well, you know what? I'll take it just in case, because I know sometimes self-published doesn't always get the same amount of clout in these kinds of spheres. But if I don't end up needing it, I'll make sure to give it back.
all right, of course, okay. It's just, I've been working on that one for a while. All right, well, good luck there. And Fleeple, you will be spending close to a week out in the woods by yourself.
I'm a druid.
Without
I
telling
got
us?
this.
Yeah.
You just,
he steals my papers and then leaves for a week.
He just was walking out the gates backwards and peace sign to both Mal and Leo and Lance.
I'm gonna go get in touch with nature a little bit. I've been inside this building for too long.
I was gonna do something with that story.
Oh.
No, it's okay. It's okay. It wasn't like the thing I was gonna do here. It was like a future idea. You do you. You're good.
Fleeple, go ahead and roll a survival check for the entire week then.
All right, you got this sport. It's a 14.
Okay. You sticking with the 14?
Well, you know what? I got inspiration for helping out my friend. So
That's true.
I'm going to use that to re-roll. That is a 27.
What did you roll the first time?
I rolled a 6 on the die. I got a 2 on my guidance die, and I have a +7 survival.
Oh my gosh. 27 for the second time. Well, Fleeple, it has been a long time since you've been in nature, and you feel the stones calling to you. There's even a night where you don't even just exercise. You just go back to your roots and you get some berries and you draw some druidic symbols on your arms and your face, and you just start dancing around a fire, and you're it's good to be back outside. It's good to be one in communing with nature, because despite the DM forgetting all the time, you are a druid first and foremost, and then a cleric, and not a cleric first. You even start to put up a few stones here and there. sort of like your own like ritualistic area, and you're like, yes, I will call this my home for the time being. You pop some good berries and you go to work. You figure like, okay, now where am I in the wild? The gym is good and all that. Ninja Warrior's fine. But when it comes to real world structures, it comes to real animals, real danger, I need to know and I need to practice. So you get into a little bit of danger. You know that you have to test your wings out. Not only your abilities, but your wings. And you could come across this bear. And you are like, okay. After training and getting your wings in shape, you're like, this is the final test. It's do or literal die. And you run at the bear. And the bear's like, just like, stands up and goes, "Huh?" And you jump up to the bear's face and you just start like, you slap it. You start slapping it with your talons, like just getting its attention, and it goes, and you're like, okay, now's the time. And the bear just starts charging at you and you just start running away. Running, keeping your wings furled until the bear starts picking up speed faster and faster and faster after you. And after it is just charging at you, you unfurl your wings and you start flying and flapping, and the bear seems to be catching up with you as you're flying, and you're just pushing yourself and pushing yourself. And thankfully your training has paid off. Thankfully your survival has paid off, because as the bear almost catches up to you, you start to pull away from the bear. You pull away and you get faster and faster, and the bear is angrily charging at you. It's going as fast as it can, faster than it probably normally could because it's so angry, but you are still going faster than it. And just as you break through these trees, you're weaving in and out of them, back, forth, very obstacle course-like. And when you get to a small clearing, you immediately shoot towards the sky. The bear growls at the sky towards you as you gracefully spin with your wings in the light. It's a very cinematic shot where you're twirling in the air and you face the sun and you lift your arms as you like come to a halt, and your wings flap in the sky as you breathe in and breathe out. And you feel really good. Your speed is now 35.
35. Okay. You know, I feel so good about this. I feel like I have excelled in my studies. And so I'm going to write myself kind of a graduate thesis for Professor Rage Mage. Just kind of a meditation on the practical differences between training in a controlled environment versus training in sort of a real world environment.
Okay.
And when I get back to the doors of Candlekeep, I'm going to try and use that as my way to get in.
We'll say that you had some parchment out in the woods, for sure. And you had a day, and you were like rushing through it as fast as you could. And you come to the doors, and you're like, and you're dirty, you're filthy, you got sticks like sticking out of your clothing. And they're like, little one, can I help you?
Yes, and I've got like a drinking horn that I got from a Red Bull, and I take a big old swig from it and toss it over my shoulder, and I say, yes, I would like to offer this to the annals of Candlekeep's wonderful, wonderful resources on physiology.
Oh, hold for a moment. And they rush to go get a master reader to come review it. And sure enough, the Rage Mage comes out. And he goes, "You have neglected your training and your studies. I am disappointed in you, little one."
Oh, but I have engaged studies beyond what you could teach me here. I have gone out into the wilderness to find what it's like out in the real world, and I have collected all of my learnings right here.
Ha! Give me that to read. And he leaves through it. It doesn't take long. It's only 3 to 4 pages necessarily. And he goes, actually, let's have you roll a skill to see how well this is written.
Oh boy.
You have some good experience here, so the DC's not, you're not bluffing. You do have some real world experience to pull on, but there still is a skill to writing things in an academic or even persuasive manner. So let's have you do, is there a skill? An actual skill?
Arcana, maybe?
I feel like Arcana would be pushing it. We'll say medicine, because this is more physiological.
All right. Going back to my roots, you got this sport. That is a 15.
15. As he is reading through it, he goes, The writing is a bit more rudimentary. For instance, you say Blacktoid when you should have said MacLeod. And there are some things that you just have definitely referenced incorrectly. And he just pauses. But I would say this would be a passable entry for my own edification. This little one could come in. You just got it. Just barely.
Oh boy.
And it's specifically only for the Rage Mage to take a gander and look.
And as I'm walking in past the guards, I turn back towards them and I put my shades down, even though I don't need to wear them anymore because I don't have sunlight sensitivity anymore. And with the finger guns, I say, C's get degrees, boys. And then I'm going to frolic my way into the library.
You have gone back into the library after a week. Mud is still devouring steak with the coin that you have left him. He's gained a little weight this week, though, and he goes, Oh, man, this was enjoyable the first few days. But this isn't great really anymore. I just can't seem to stop it.
Well, here's the thing. You're getting a lot of protein intake, but what are you doing with that protein intake?
I'm just sitting on it.
Well, we need to get you up and moving, don't we, my boy?
And you go back to the Ninja Warrior. Right. And he goes, You have to move, little Mud. And we will sunset that scene for our listeners' imaginations.
And the last thing I will do is I will slip Lance's story back into his bag.
And after Fleeple slips it in, Lance, you're like, Oh, I wonder, is that story still there? Oh yeah, it's still there. Okay.
Same pocket where it's always been. Thank you. I just had a cool, clever idea for it later. Thank you, Ned.
No prob.
So, Lance, I believe you are one of the last ones here. We'll get to you now.
Gotcha. I am going to... So during this kind of last week, as I've been researching kind of what is going on with demonology, especially connecting it to Mal, because something's bugging me about that, and just what it might be, what she's into, Lance Thalen starts reflecting on his past and the things that he's bound to or that he felt bound to, and he starts kind of getting a little paranoid about it. And so what he's going to end up doing is, maybe in this last week that when Malamara and Lance are like, where the crap did Fleeple go? There's a little bit more downtime than usual because we don't, we aren't getting together as much probably in the evenings and stuff, or at least as much time. And so Lance is going to start looking around to specifically the tavern areas, maybe the stables, a couple places he's familiar where these things would be. And he's going to start looking for thieves' cant. He's specifically going to be listening for people, maybe dropping subtle messages in thieves' cant, symbols that sometimes might be carved in discrete places to show this is a place maybe that you can get some underground connections.
Excellent. Dipping back into the history that you left behind, you've always known that taverns are a place to hide and also hide information. And so you excuse yourself from Malamar from time to time, or even encourage her to sit at new tables. And as you sit at new tables, you run your finger along the bottom of the tables of the wood. And you're just rubbing it through casual conversation, because what you are looking for are certain iconography, certain terminology, something that can give you a direction. Every table you leave your own inscription to be erased afterwards. And after a few days of doing this, you go back to one of your tables that you had, you've made the rounds, and now you're repeating your tables, feeling back over your own inscriptions, and you feel some inscriptions besides yours, like somebody has responded possibly to a message to you. After Malamara leaves, and when no one's looking, you act like you drop something, you dip down to pick it up. Thieves' Cant is interesting. It's its own language. I've joked in the past about how it's just old spy nonsense, like the crow flies at midnight. But that is the most minor level of Thieves' Cant. Thieves' Cant at its core is its own language. It's its own symbology, terminology. I'm almost thinking of like hobo language as well, if anybody's heard of that.
Yeah.
And There are certain iconography, certain symbols that denote of every few days there's an individual that comes in that can help you out. And with the symbol of the sun rising, you know that it's going to be near the morning time. And so, for the next couple days, you wait in the morning. You don't go to the library first things first. And coincidentally and luckily, that's when Leosin says he has other business to take care of, so he can't necessarily see you through the Emerald Door. And you wait. You nurse your drink. You worry about this extra power you seem to have. But as you wait, an individual walks in one of these mornings. Blonde hair, blue eyes, cloak with a hood that is down, and a gleaming smile. One that is plastered on their face. And as they look around, they see you, lock eyes with you. Kind of like give a nod. But is there anything you do to indicate towards them?
I will have set up 2 drinks already. One for me, and then one just sitting by itself in front of me, on the opposite side of the table.
Seeing the empty drink with the handle pointed towards him, this individual walks up to you. Of course, Malamar is very familiar with this individual, but this is the first time you are meeting them. Sits down and takes a drink from the mug and looks at you. I thank you for your hospitality, friend. Thank you indeed. It's always good to wake up to a stiff drink.
It's the cheapest wine they had.
Nonetheless, wine is wine, am I right?
Quite.
Smiling through this whole portion.
Quite right.
He dips his finger in his wine and starts tracing on the table while he speaks. I've been hearing rumors and whispers that some of my business might be required here.
If your business is information, then it is sought after.
I have many businesses. That's why I have been in business as long as I have been. Information is just one of them.
Quite right. In our land, everything that goes through certain channels somehow ends up in the city of Neverwinter. I'm curious as to... The whole time he's talking to this guy, he's obviously like just holding his drink, not drinking it, but holding it, but his other hand is constantly kind of like petting at his yellow scarf. I'm curious as to the business ventures of one particular person of interest from Neverwinter, a name of renown in that city, business all over Faerun, and all I require is what their current interest is. What are they currently seeking after?
Friend, you are correct. Neverwinter is a major hub of import-export, especially after their tragic calamity over the past 100 years. It's been ripe for the taking for new up-and-comers, for individuals and for those wishing to make a name for themselves, and it is the place to be for those up-and-coming. Which individual do you seek?
An individual that goes by the name of Vandal.
Vandal. Occupation, if any?
Vandal's occupation is to make sure no one knows their occupation.
Oh, yes. A clever one, that. Smiling as he continues to draw on the table with the wine that he is dipping from his drink. I can definitely, I can have some channels reach out and see. The name does prick the back of my mind, but for a more up-to-date account, I'll need to check in with a few of my channels.
We are here for the small foreseeable future, but I would greatly appreciate that. Well, I know sometimes individuals are paranoid of who's asking after them, and I would appreciate your discretion on not revealing who's inquiring.
Oh, my friend, I'm not in the business of ratting people out. It's terrible for business.
Well, everyone has a price.
But you do feel across from you a little tap underneath the table on your side, which says, a little something to get me started, though.
Lance will hand over 100 gold.
He doesn't count it. He doesn't look at it. You do, as you toss it over, you feel him grip onto it, sort of like mull it over. And as he weighs it in his hand, he breaks out into a wide grin and goes, "Expedited delivery is ensured, good friend. I shall have word, and it is a pleasure to see you, of course. Allow me to pay for the drink. It's been last time you got it, and allow me, please.
Oh, of course, 5 copper.
Yes, of course." And so he goes, "I will see you shortly. Thank you so much." And he leaves the drink, and he leaves, goes to the barkeep and pays the 5 copper, tips his head towards you, and walks out.
All right. Lance will wait for word back.
Excellent.
I will say also, or one more of these evenings, Lance is scared but also intrigued by the power of this book and will try and look into it one more time just to see if he can make sense of it.
Okay. My mind is a little foggy. Did we have you roll anything for that? Because it was it was just an abyssal, but you're like, I can't read this, but I am going to study and try and figure it out.
He only looked at the front couple pages that were in abyssal. He's going to start thumbing through a little bit more to see, is it all in abyssal? Is it in other languages? Are there diagrams possibly he can decipher? He's curious about this book, and he doesn't know what it is and doesn't know what it exactly does, but he knows what it gave him, and something's gnawing at him to look again.
Are you doing this in the tavern itself?
Oh no, this is very much one of the nights that, especially while Fleeple's gone, he's going to wake up after his 4 hours of, meditation, look over at Malamara, who's snoring very loudly, and walk out and go, kind of off on his own a little bit. Maybe find a torch somewhere in the grounds of Candlekeep and just start perusing through.
Okay. This is a large book, but despite it being so large, there are sections that have been ripped out entirely. And so there are just these gaps in the book that are odd. All of it is in abyssal. You just keep reading and going and going. You spend a good 30 minutes just trying to see if any of some pages are so chaotic it's hard to decipher. So you have to turn the book and spend a good amount of time to even see and make sure everything is in abyssal. And it is about 30 minutes go by when you get to the end, and it is just all finished. And can't understand any of it. Don't know what it means. No diagrams necessarily. None that you could decipher or that were clear.
I have purposely not looked up this book, so I am experiencing its effects as Lance is experiencing it.
That's how it should be experienced. Ignorantly. Just kidding.
Ignorance.
As you finished looking this one, your other hand feels deathly cold. And you look over to it, and it seems to be has this faint blackness glowing from it. And without knowing why, you can cast the cantrip Chill Touch.
Oh my gosh. What is this book? Okay.
Malamara, your friend comes back with a replica of the book. And another time, another evening, when Lance is not there. And he goes, "Well, it wasn't easy, but I think we did quite good, don't you?" And he slides it over wrapped. And you pull it down in front of you, and you unwrap it and take a look. It's pretty good. It has even the same weight as from what you recall, what you remember. And there are some slight differences, but they're not noticeable. They're only noticeable to you because you studied the cover for an hour and a half. And you were specifically looking for differences. But at a glance, just kind of reading through it, it looks pretty darn good. I will just need the rest of my payment, darling.
Mal has prepared the bag of gold, and she just hands it over, rewraps the book, and kind of nods to him, because clearly he doesn't like the winking, for whatever reason, and says, "Thank you. You know, I would appreciate if you didn't tell anyone about this." And she gives that side look to him.
My dear, discretion is my middle name, for without discretion, I wouldn't have any customers. A pleasure seeing you again. We really should not wait too long between meetings. We should. It's been much too long, and I hope to see you again next time you're in town.
I mean, I just don't think that I'll be able to come back to and I imagine that he leaves while she's in the middle of trying to talk her way.
It's okay. All right. Goodbye. See you. No, really, goodbye. See you later. I'm leaving. All right. About this time, Fleeple has been brought in, and Leosin comes to you all.
Yes, good, all of you are here. I would like to, I must say I have news on our current situation.
And he says that with a smile and, like, sort of gleefully, and he goes,
You've done your part, and we have done our part, and I'm very much looking forward to letting you in on all of the news here. And, Fleeple, oh my, you look quite beat up there. What did you do, slap a bear?
A little bit, actually.
I was joking, but, all right. Well, of course.
Would all of you come with me?
Of course.
Cool.
Yeah.
I can just imagine Fleeple's, what is it? His shawl, his sheep shawl is just like a muscle-bound T-shirt now. It's just like, kind of like stretching out.
Especially with the wings.
Yep.
He had to, like, cut little slits in the back so the wings could, like, slide through. And but regardless, Leosin takes you all into a room with Anthar Froom. If you recall, it being a very boisterous, somewhat overweight man with a red beard, and he sees all of you and goes, "Oh yes, the Jhank Squad! Oh, pleasure seeing you all. Good seeing you, of course. He's got this massive turkey leg in one hand and a big mug of ale in the other, and he goes, "Please sit. Come. We have much to discuss here, of course. Much to discuss." All of you sit, and it appears that there is some progress moving forward. Any questions to ask Leosin or Anthar before we jump into the discussion?
We gave them the book, right? Like that was kind of preset, correct?
Oh, about the masks?
Yeah. That's what I assumed we had done.
Well, I guess this is the first time that we've seen them since we got back out, isn't it?
Well, no, I've seen Leosin almost every day of the month, or every other day at least. I thought
other than seeing them initially, once you got up and just sort of like explaining, I imagine you explained a little bit of what you found down there. Maybe this is something I neglected to talk about in the podcast. I apologize if I did. So I assumed you would have spoken to Leosin initially after getting out of the dungeon, the Forgotten Library, shared the information at the very least, and then possibly handed over the book. Regardless, that's not going to alter much about this conversation, as they are trying to describe what they have found on their end. But it would be good to know moving forward what all of you had intended to share previously or wait until now.
Yeah, I'm good to share everything.
Yeah.
Jhank Squad, always truthful to the end and forthcoming with all of their information.
Yes. So honest.
Except the dragon tooth.
that's true. Holding on to that.
Leosin pipes up as for all of you to sit down. Mud is not invited, unfortunately, as he has not been part of the whole conversation, and so he is not in here. But Leosin goes,
"Yes, so we said that you would all go into the forgotten section of the library and find out that information about the masks. Just to clarify, was there any additional information you had found from what you had already shared with us? What you had shared with us was that the masks were used, Fleeple, would you mind summarizing again, please? we're so excited for the things that we found here. If possible, or all of you. Doesn't have to be Fleeple.
Yes, as I recall, there were the worm speakers who were the crafters of these masks and allowed them to be a vessel of Tiamat and a leader of the cult, even to the
yes.
point of possibly granting some powers over the chromatic dragons themselves, and that the head worm speaker has the obligation to combine all of them into the mask of Tiamat and call her forth from the abyss. Not the abyss, from the nine hells. It's a very important distinction.
Very important, very important. We are in an academic library here. And anyway, yes, of course. The worm speakers, as we know, have survived the ages, but these masks, they were lost to time, and with all this discussion from Mondath and her communications with Resmir, this has been an important fact that we've been able to find. We have been following the money, if you will, and in so doing, we found Resmir. We found her when following the money as well. My agents were very discreet. It was very difficult, and unfortunately one of them didn't come back alive. But they have sent word that they have been following Resmir. Resmir, from what we've been able to gather, is a half-black dragon. They are what we call a wearer of the purple cloth, which is precisely in line with what we had found in the letters from Mondath as well. Mondath, as you might have recalled, was a wearer of the purple cloth as well. Which, if you recall, way back in the caverns, she had purple robes in the dresser, if you will, down in the caverns when you were raiding her office. Fleeple, did you ever take those robes? I can't remember if you took them or not.
I believe I did.
I think you did.
Fleeple takes everybody's robes.
Yes, I have it in my notes. Purple Mondath regalia.
Yeah, and so I imagine at this point, them talking about the purple robes, you just slowly pull out some of these purple robes from Mondath.
I pull out some robes, and they're red, and I look at them like, oh, wait, and I put those back in and then pull out the purple robes.
Shocked a little, Onthar goes, "Are those Mondath's robes?"
They are, in fact.
Good gracious! Pass them over here! Pass it! No, wait. Probably not to me. To Leosin. His fingers aren't as greasy as mine are. And he might have to be able to examine them. Goodness me, Kobold. You certainly are a creature of surprises here. Stealing Mondath's robes. Stealing a member of the Purple Cloth's robes. Goodness gracious, what is to be next? Leosin's holding them kind of reverently, but more delicately than reverently, and he's examining them.
Fleeple, this is incredible. How come I wasn't aware of this before?
Probably because I forgot to look at my inventory.
Well, a lesson to us all then. Look at our inventories. This is monumental here. This is, Fleeple, might I hold on to this, or would you prefer to hold on to this?
You can hang on to it for a little bit, I say, as I'm just, looking through my backpack, and I'm like, what on earth? And I pull out that little winged snake pendant that I picked up back in Greenest.
Lance, go ahead and roll a history check.
Oh, okay. That's a critical fail.
Oh.
That's a 1.
And you look at the pendant and you're like, Fleeple carries around the craziest things.
And immediately after that, I pull out the worm box.
Lance goes wide-eyed.
And Leosin goes,
Good heavens, Fleeple, do you still have that?
Yes, it's very disturbing. It might be so disturbing that it could cause someone to critically fail on a history check.
This is the key to everything.
Oh, goodness gracious. I won't speak of this, but I'd like to hold on to these robes because we might make use of them for infiltration, for espionage, just for impersonation. Those are pretty much all the same things. I just said 3 different ways, but if you're all right with us holding on to this, I think we might be able to find somebody who could fit in these. Regardless, the members of the Purple Cloth don't necessarily make up the Worm Speakers. They do, however, make up the higher ranks of the Cult of the Dragon. Worm Speakers are brought into the inner circle of the main leader themselves. Now, from what we've been able to gather, we believe the main leader is a person called Severin. Severin being the leader of the cult. We believe. We don't know much about them. There isn't much to know necessarily. It seems like the name popped out of nowhere just a few years ago.
What's the name?
Severin.
Almost like Severus, but Severin.
And this is a leader of the cult just within the region, or like throughout the entire world?
We believe they are the leader of the entire cult over all regions.
That is big.
The reason why I bring this up and why we've been able to identify it is because it was specifically after Severin that talks of the masks came into our communication and into our knowledge. We had some snippets about regalia, which we passed off as just ceremonial. But it wasn't until you brought up these masks that we went back through all of our notes and intercepted additional information where we've also picked up word. Apparently, there's one of the white masks is missing, and we intercepted one of that communication, and it seems that they are frantic to find it. They are in communication to find them. We haven't found much of the other masks necessarily, but we do believe from your communication and from our research that the worm speakers themselves have been granted those masks, especially from what you found in the Forgotten section.
Onthar pipes up. Yes, my order has been looking around, trying to weed out the cult of the dragon. We know of some cities that they like to inhabit and that they secretly run, but we haven't been able to get hold or flush any of the weaker members out necessarily. I mean, some even brazenly open the cult of the dragon's pendants, walking around Neverwinter. There are some who don't appear to be hiding it whatsoever. You'd find them in some of the larger cities where they can get away with religious tolerance. If it were up to me, I would wipe them all and banish them from all of the major cities and hubs. Regardless, as he composes himself, we have been keeping an eye, and there does seem to be an increased activity in most of the hubs around here. Thanks to your help, and not only with information of the cult, but also in retrieving a key member from the Harpers from Wisteria Vale, we have planned a council in Waterdeep for us all to gather and discuss the ongoing problem with some of the masked lords. We would like to invite you to this meeting to discuss what you have found, but also to be in talks, as you have been key attributing members into the fight against the cult of the dragon.
Leosin pipes up. This meeting wouldn't be for some time, unfortunately. It would be months. It takes quite a while to get everybody from all four corners of the earth, so to speak, or rather Faerun, to meet in Waterdeep. But it is one of the most secure cities that I know of, and all of the higher-ups in most of the organizations agree that there we'd be less likely to be scryed on, and privacy would be almost guaranteed. So, when the time comes, would you all be willing to join us for that meeting?
Well, I'm done with everything I need to do here, and I don't suppose I have anywhere else to go in the near future.
I mean, yeah, I think we just need a day or two more here, and then we're good to go, but you said this is months away.
Yes, of course. It wouldn't be for months at the earliest. I actually, as I mentioned, we've found Resmir, and I was hoping with those months in between, it'd be just absolutely beautiful if we could get more information, more, just more evidence to really drive home the threat. And now that we found Resmir and tracked her to a certain location, certain town, I was hoping to enlist some of your services in the months leading up to this to get more evidence on Resmir, the cult of the dragon, and such. In particular, with my men in one of the local towns, I could help integrate you, and maybe you could either gather information, go after Resmir herself, get a dragon mask. I'm not sure it's possible, but we have some time, and I know you all have proven yourselves to be an incredible strike force, an incredible resource, and to have incredible drive to move yourself in the direction of this cause. Is that something that all of you would be in agreement to, or what are your thoughts or feelings of this?
I'm into it.
Yes, just, and Resmia is a higher-up, is one of the...
Is a worm speaker, like second in command. They're in, from what we believe, Severin's inner circle.
Okay, wow, okay, if we do this, I'll just kind of look at Fleeple and go, if this is the next step, then I guess we gotta take it. But after this, there's no hiding anymore. We'll be known. They'll be coming for us.
Well, I suppose I understand if the two of you have some hesitancy, because I'm sure you all have other ambitions aside from this mission that we're on here, but I have nothing to go back to aside from this. So I know that my life is going to change irrevocably if I follow this course, but it already has been changed irrevocably.
The only thing I have is here. And that's what kind of Lance, glancing around to both Fleeple and Malamara, kind of realizing to himself, almost for the first time, realizing that. So yeah, I guess we're... And Lance rarely does this, but he kind of smiles and he goes, I guess we're doing this.
Mal sort of solemnly nods her head as well, looking at both of you. Leosin looking at all three of you as well.
All right. I can't tell you how much this means to me, not only as a follower of Bahamut, but just as a friend. To see you all sacrifice your time and your lives, hopefully not your lives, but certainly your time, to helping something that we stumbled into each other all those weeks and months ago, where I was chained up in that caldera. It was a caldera, right?
Yes, it 100% definitely was a caldera.
It's a divot in the landscape,
Absolutely.
like a strong divot.
And to see where we've all ended up, and everywhere that we've come to, it just warms my heart to know I have allies like the three of you. So thank you so much.
You are very welcome. Can we bring Mud with us?
I'm sorry?
Mud, the guy who's outside, got big sweatbands because he's working out a lot these days, trying to get swole.
Oh, if you, is he up for the task?
I suppose we probably should ask him about that, because I know
I saw him eating a lot of protein over the past few weeks.
He decided to start getting into keto. He thinks that's going to help him out a little bit. I'm not into fad diets myself, but I know that can really change a person, so maybe his ambitions are a little bit different now than they were when we first met.
I suppose if he wants to. I'm just afraid he may not be up to snuff, is all. You've been through quite a bit. You know what you're getting into. I'd hate for you to bring somebody in who maybe is not fully prepared or fully aware of what they're signing up for. I wouldn't...
I will say, you might be right. He might not be up for the task yet, but I think at this council in a couple of months, it might be good to bring him along, at least for that, because... he worked in the cult. He's actually one of our best inside sources right now.
Really?
Yes, he was in that divot in the landscape, that caldera, if you will.
Yes, that topographical concavity that
Yes.
we spent some time in.
Yes.
So many ways to describe it, and it's miraculous that I was unaware. Absolutely, he should be there. He should come. He should speak. Check to make sure he's willing to put his life on the line first, though.
That would be a good idea, yes.
Oh, one more thing. Before, let's see. In that same report, saying that just so we're all above board, we're sharing information. The only other things that seemed why we want to move on this is there does seem to be some possible structural changes
for these worm speakers here. And so if we can move quickly to either remove Resme, we could bring some instability. The reason why we say this is because the person who had the white mask originally seems to be falling out of favor with Severin and possibly being removed. We heard it was encoded, but from what we can gather, there seems to be someone they refer to as Vandal, who might be hopping in here to bring the mask and to find it necessarily. We're not sure if that's a threat. We're not sure if that's a fact necessarily, but something that the one reason why we want to move and try to get Resme and possibly her mask as well.
That is such an odd coincidence. That is the code name that Lance over here used when we were in that depression in the ground.
Really? Lance Helen, you wouldn't happen to be the one who's trying to rise the ranks of the Court of the Dragon, would you be?
Lance, hearing that name is starting to, as Fleeple observed many, many moons ago, getting very clammy in the hands. And
he finally acknowledges the clam.
When he's nervous, sure. And starts just kind of like nervously laughing to do a terrible job covering up. Just ha 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 ha.
Oh, belly laugh. And that is where we're going to end this week's episode of iCast Fireball.
I didn't even need to pay that guy 100 gold. I want my 100 gold back.
You don't know what other information you might receive.
So,
besides, this could just be a rumor.
So wait, just to be clear, Vandal was holding the white mask, but is falling out somehow with the cold.
No.
Oh.
The person who had the white mask has lost it.
Okay.
And they are being kicked out of Severin's inner circle as a result of this. And the person who they are being sent, through this encoded message, that the word or the phrase that is being used to recover the mask is Vandal. Whether that is a Vandal, whether that is somebody named Vandal, a code name for somebody, they are unsure.
Gotcha.
But as we close this week's episode of iCast Fireball, I want to thank all of my players, of course, and I want to thank all of my listeners, of course, all of our listeners, to diving into this week. We are finally wrapping up our downtime. We still have a few few things to tie up here with Malamar and possibly Lance Thalen here, so we'll get to those, but thematically, we are on to the next leg of our adventure. Some might call it a season, some might call it a chapter. Here at iCast Fireball, we call it an adventure. So, thank you all for joining and for just listening along. If you want to let us know how you think we're doing, shoot us an email at icastfireball2020@gmail.com, or give us a 5-star review and let us know your favorite parts of the campaign so far. If you feel like we could use some extra support, you can go to our Ko-fi donation page and drop whatever donation you would like there. That lets us know that people and fans are eager for additional content, whether that's additional campaigns, whether that's vinyl stickers, whether that's miniatures painted with a 3D miniatures or whatever. We want that information from you, and so those are the 3 best ways to let us know. I just want to thank you from the bottom of our hearts here at iCast Fireball for just taking the time to listening. So thank you. We want to shout out our sister podcast, Improv Tabletop, of course, where Ned is the wonderful GM or keeper, depending on the campaign you decided to listen to. He has a year-long backlog of fate-accelerated mini 1-month adventures. Some of them are wacky and fun. One of the first ones is called Jurassic Bake Off, where it's a spoof of Jurassic Park, and Great British Bake Off. Another one of my favorites, is Miceborn, where you mix Redwall and Mistborn together using the tabletop system Fate Accelerated. He also has an ongoing campaign of Avatar Legends, so if you love Avatar Last Airbender, go give him a listen, and don't forget to leave them a 5-star review. Shoot us a message on any of our social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, with our handle at ICastFireball20. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to shout you out in a future episode as well, so let us know what you've been enjoying. But don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your fellow friends and wacky adventurers. I'm Thomas the DM, and around the table we've got
Malamara,
Lance Thalen,
And Fleeple.
Let's keep that fire going, and we'll see you all next time.